This episode is sponsored by HASA, the trusted choice for liquid chlorine. It's better because it offers the highest purity, works instantly, and contains no added CYA. By the bottom feeder, professional-grade battery-powered swimming pool vacuum system, it sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. And by Skimmer, trusted by over 30,000 pool service pros across North America. Skimmer's software helps you save time, grow revenue, and boost your 5-star reviews. Whether you're just starting out or expanding your team, Skimmer's easy-to-use tools and expert support have you covered. Upgrade your business in 2025 with Skimmer. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy today.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hi, and welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. As you've probably heard from the intros, I have new sponsors, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about each of my new sponsors, and by the way, I'm going to have them on the podcast a lot more. So you're going to hear a lot more from my sponsors and have some podcast interviews with them. I'm going to go over a few reasons why I chose these three, and I'll give you some good reasons why you should support the sponsors of the show. Join my coaching program and take your pool service to the next level. Connect with other pool pros in your area, gain valuable knowledge, and transform your business with personalized one-on-one advice from me. With over 36 years of experience, I'm here to help you succeed like never before. Learn more at poolguycoaching.com. I was working with Leslie's Wholesale, or Leslie's Pro as they call it, for the last 5 years, and I have nothing but good things to say about Leslie's Pools, and I would say that they're a great place to get your wholesale supplies. Although they have limited stock of certain things, they can get just about anything that you need for your pool route, and everyone I worked with at Leslie's was really great to work with. They were pleasant, no problems with any of the people working there. And the wholesale department it was very profitable for them, and it still is their most profitable aspect of their company. Ironically, since they're a pool retail store, having the wholesale aspect being profitable is kind of weird, but it's kind of how it is. And I would like to say that a lot of what my efforts to promote them has helped their wholesale division. When I first came on board 5 years ago, they had 200 pool companies that were part of their Leslie's Pro program, and now that I've left after 5 years, they have 4,400 members or pool companies that are part of their wholesale program. So they've had an explosive growth in the wholesale aspect of it, and it's something they really should focus on going forward, and that should be their primary focus. My whole idea for them was to convert a lot of their 930 retail locations to purely wholesale locations. Now there's some logistics and there's a lot of red tape, and there were some things that didn't make this possible, but it would be great if they could have converted 400 stores and made them just purely wholesale outlets, stocked with everything you needed. Get rid of all the toys, get rid of the bubble covers, anything that wasn't necessary, and just fill those stores with wholesale items, the things that the pool pros want to shop for, and forget about the retail aspect of it. And they had enough storefronts where that could be easily converted if they had the resources to do that. But I'm going to move on and talk about the new sponsors. That's all I'm going to say about Leslie's and Leslie's Pro. Again, great people, great relationships, great time working there, and really nothing negative to say about the corporation as a whole. And I think the new sponsors are people that I've worked with before in the industry. I have a long-standing relationship with all of these companies. I'll start with the bottom feeder. I've known Glenn, the creator of the bottom feeder, for many, many years. We go way back to when he was trying to sell it at SCP or Superior, and it was just sitting there on the back shelf, and you would walk in there and you would point at it and be like, "Hey, what is that machine there?" And the people at the counter would be like, "I don't know what that is. It's something that the manager put there." So he had a rough start trying to get his product out there on the market. Probably not the best place to put it. It's one of those things where you learn from your mistakes, of course, and marketing is basically something that you do on your own, I think, and you can be more successful when you take control of the marketing of your product and bring it to market the way you want to bring it to market. And so his whole thing is, if you read his website and you see how he kind of markets it, he has a catch line that has a double meaning. One of the meanings is that it's no fun cleaning pools, but with the bottom feeder, it sucks up all of the debris on the bottom, so it makes it easy and bearable. There's also something on his website about lugging around a boat anchor back to your stops, and he really plays up the fact that the bottom feeder weighs just 12 pounds as a complete unit, which is pretty amazing if you think about it. You have a vacuum system with maybe an 18-pound thrust motor, somewhere around there, 20-pound thrust motor, which is, if you compare it to the Hammerhead or Riptide, they have a 35 or 38 thrust motor on there. It's really got enough power for sure. It's like if you're using those little Coquito battery-powered cleaners, I think the thrust motor on that is probably like 2 or 3. I mean, it's really small. The WaterTech cleaners, the battery-operated leaf baggers, I believe the thrust is probably 1. It's like really low thrust, but it's effective. It's one of those things where you don't need a lot of pull to get the debris into the bag. So it's one of those things where it's a misnomer that you need a huge amount of power, and the bottom feeder, of course, has a huge amount of power. So I'm not saying it doesn't, but there's a misnomer that you need a certain amount of power to pull the debris in the bag, and you don't really need that much, because if you use those little battery-operated BWT or Coquito cleaners, that little propeller is barely spinning and is pulling debris into the bag. The other thing that I like about the bottom feeder is that Glenn really puts a lot of effort into improving the product. So he has a better battery. He has a switch that's actually much better than the previous generations. Now, I'm old school. If you've seen some of the videos I filmed with the bottom feeder, I don't use the switch because I started with the first generation where you just kind of twist the yellow cord in, and then that's kind of how you power it, and you just untwist it when you're done. That's how I've always done it. Now, I do have a switch on mine now, and I do use it. So I'm moving into the newer era where switches are important to disconnect electronic devices. I get it. But I've just always had no problem with kind of unscrewing that little thing there. It does wear it out, though, over time. So you have to replace the cable more often. But the switch, it takes a long time to develop a switch that's going to last underwater in those environments. It's not something that's really easy to manufacture. It may seem that way if you think about it. You're like, well, I mean, what's the big deal? You put a switch inside a silicone containment area, and you can turn the unit on and off. But that silicone containment unit can leak. Water can get in there. You got to also think about the water pressure. If you've ever used your own pool, if you have a pool or when swimming, and you dive down to 8 feet, your ears start to pop and you feel that pressure even at 8 feet. So that puts strain on that product or that part component as well. And it's something that you just want to make sure you make really well and effective. And they've gone extra lengths to find a manufacturer that can do it. So this generation of switches, I can't guarantee anything, I guess, out there with any product, but I can say that you're going to have less issues and it's going to be the best switch that they make. The motors, of course, have been improved over the years. They're much more reliable. So I would say that this generation of bottom feeders, Glenn also has a storefront now in Las Vegas. This generation of the bottom feeder is the best generation. It's kind of like if you're a car buff and you get different years of cars. Like, for instance, I have a 2019 Honda Ridgeline. I did a lot of research to make sure. I always buy used vehicles, by the way. I don't buy anything new, so that's why it's a 2019. But I did a lot of research into the best model year. A lot of people online were saying 2017 was bad. It was the first year they converted it from the old style, which I kind of like the old style with the kind of the ridges. That's why they call it the Ridgeline, I guess. It had ridges on the side, but they got rid of that. And then the 2018 has some bugs. 2020 wasn't quite as good as the 2019 year. And I've had like 3 recall notices, but they're like minor things like the backup camera wire. There was like a hood latch, so it was nothing like seriously wrong with the truck. So I picked the best year, I think, the 2019 model of the Honda Ridgeline. And if you're like me and you want to make sure you're getting something reliable, the 2024 bottom feeder, the 2023 bottom feeder, they're the most reliable years to date of the bottom feeder. So I would definitely say that if you're thinking about the bottom feeder or on the fence about it, there's no reason not to take the plunge and pick up the bottom feeder right now. You're going to really appreciate the compact lightness of this cleaner, or lightweightness of this cleaner, the power of the cleaner, the convenience of just putting it in the pool and no cords, and you can go around automatic cleaners. You can pull it right into the spa. You can, vacuum without having to move a cart. So there's a lot of great aspects of the bottom feeder. And Glenn, of course, stands behind this product. He's a great guy, and I have a really good working relationship with him. He actually gave me one of my favorite quotes in the industry, and I use it a lot on my podcast, and people reuse it in my group thread, and I've heard it, I think, on Facebook now. But it was I don't know if it's his original quote, but he gave it to me, and he mentioned that 90% of your problems out there come from 10% of your pools. So 90% of your problems come from 10% of your accounts, and if you can move those 10% of the accounts that are no good and get them off your route eventually, you're going to have a really nice, pleasant working experience out there every day without having to think about, Mr. Jones pool coming up today. I dread going there. So I think he's been in the industry. He's a pool guy. He invented this device. He got the patents on it. He has many years of experience in Ventura County, the San Fernando Valley area of California. And it's a product that I can stand behind. And of course, he's sponsoring the show because he believes in the content I put out there on the podcast, on a YouTube channel, and he sees that as and he's mentioned to me on occasion that he wished that he had the YouTube videos available when he first started. He was like me. We're in a generation where we had pagers, we had really nothing. If you wanted to take something apart, figure it out, you would do it on your own. So he's an old school guy like myself, and he has a great product to stand behind. Now, if you don't know what a vacuum system is, I have a lot of podcasts that describe it and go over details of it. I'm not going to take the time to do it here, but basically, it's the most effective way to get large leaf debris out of a pool. It has a thrust motor. You push it in the pool a lot like a manual vacuum, and it has a bag on top. Depending on the micron, depends on how much dirt's captured along with the leaf debris, but primarily it's used for heavy leaf debris pools and to clean those rapidly without having to use your leaf rake on the bottom. If you ever have done that, you're like skimming one part of the pool, stirring up a bunch of leaves and dirt, then you wait, settles down, you skim on the other part of the pool. It takes forever. I can guarantee you that you'll have a pool cleaned and vacuumed within 4 or 5 minutes with the bottom feeder versus 20 or 25 minutes trying to get it out with the leaf rake. So it's a great time saver, and it'll actually pay for itself on your route. The amount of time you save will directly translate into money on your pool route. I'm going to move on to HASA. Now, I've known Terry Arco for many years. I've known Harold Evan for many years. HASA acquired Orenda a few years back, so HASA and Orenda Orenda is part of HASA now. And if you know anything about Orenda and HASA in particular lately has been really pushing this, and I think it's a good thing, is educating the pool pro is a top priority of the company. In fact, whenever I had Harold Evans on the podcast, he would never talk about the Orenda products. He would never say, get the PR10000, it's the strongest phosphorus remover out there, it's highly effective, but he would always talk about education and educating the pool pro, the Orenda Academy. Their whole idea is to educate the pool pros, and the pool pros will, of course, eventually buy their products because they're not really selling the products. They're selling their actual institution, their philosophy to the pool pro, and thereby the products will sell themselves. It's a great strategy. I remember the first time I saw Orenda at the Western Pool Show, it was Harold Evans' wife. I don't remember if it was his daughter standing there, but the booth was pretty empty. They didn't have a lot of people around the booth, and they had their products out there. And it didn't look like a pool product, in my opinion. It wasn't anything that attracted people. And that was one of the first years they were at the show. And then, of course, they just exploded because their education first, teaching the pool pro about LSI, about why you need to add phosphorus removers, all the aspects of pool care that they promote, and the new theories and the new ideas they brought into the industry has really elevated the entire industry. And as a reward or a bonus, their products started selling like crazy because the pool pros really believed in the company and the product. HASA acquired them. The education is still in the forefront. Nothing has really changed really with Orenda. The products are the same. They have the same customer forward-centric attitude. And their service is geared towards, of course, not selling products, but selling education, selling a way of doing pools correctly, and doing pools the right way. Now, HASA started to really expand their education when they purchased Bob Lowry's legacy is material and the certified residential class that they offered. Now, I know they're revamping that and changing things a little bit to make it more concise, so that's probably something that they're working on still in the background. But the fact that they were able to absorb Bob Lowry's legacy into the company and really take care of his widow is something that most corporations wouldn't think about doing and wouldn't think about buying someone's information, I guess, to pass on to future generations. It's not something that a lot of corporations would put money and invest in. But when I talked to Bob Lowry, he was very thankful for HASA, and he knew that they didn't have to do this. There was no reason for HASA to make a deal to bring him on as an advisor for the last 6 months before he passed away, or to take his material and utilize it to make sure that it's preserved and it's going to be propagated into the future for the pool pro industry. So that's something that I give HASA a lot of credit for, that they stood behind Bob Lowry and they invested in Bob Lowry's legacy and material. And again, not a lot of corporations would do that. It doesn't make sense for the bottom line, but it does make sense on an industry level and on a customer service level. So I give them all the credit for that. Terry Arco, of course, has won some awards for being the best trainer, I believe, or maybe not that one, but I know he's won an award for being like a legacy award of some kind. And he definitely is like a living legend in the industry. And if you ever talk to him, he gives you all the time you need on something. And he has just a great way of explaining things, getting concepts across, and he really cares about the industry. So there's a lot of aspects of Terry Arco that kind of transcends his role at HASA. He's kind of overarching as their trainer and as the trainer for the pool pros out there. But at the same time, his personality is geared towards helping the customer and the pool pro and not selling liquid chlorine or muriatic acid or any of the other HASA products. And I think that's something that is a distinct difference between HASA and other companies that sell chemicals, is that education is the forefront. If you educate the pool pro, which is the consumer, you're going to, of course, have them purchase your products because they're going to realize that your product is something that's going to help make their pool care easier on their route. I'm not trying to sell you on HASA products, but I've used them for many, many years. I love the returnable liquid chlorine and the returnable acid cases, but this may surprise you. My favorite HASA product is actually their algae band, their granular trichlor. It comes in super handy if you know how to use it properly without burning the plaster, of course, but it comes in super handy with black algae and green pool cleanup. So I can't tell you how many times the HASA algae band has saved me out there. It's kind of weird. You would think I'd be talking about their acid and liquid returnables, but the product that I really like from HASA is their algae band product, which is a great way to treat pools. But of course, there's a lot of cautions, and I've done podcasts on using it correctly. And as they expand their liquid and chlorine returnables across the country, they're in Texas and of course Arizona, California, a lot of different areas. You're going to hear more and more about HASA, and with the Arenda products, they have that particular brand, and they have some smaller products that they have as well. But mainly they're known for their liquid chlorine and liquid acid returnable cases, which are kind of iconic. They've been in movies and every pool guy recognizes them. And my son makes the keychains for them still that the reps give out, the HASA and muriatic acid keychains. And he designed that like 4 or 5 years ago when he was 11 or 12 years old. And they're still buying those from him, which is great, a great relationship. And HASA treats him really well. And of course, my son is the first one to defend HASA whenever he hears like a negative thing. He's like, "Oh, HASA is great. HASA is awesome." But yeah, I think he has a little bit of skin in the game in that case. And then Skimmer, of course, has been sponsoring my content for the last year already, and they're continuing to sponsor it into 2025 and probably beyond that. I've had Skimmer on here. If you're familiar with Skimmer, they're also focused on the pool pro. They put out these reports now, I think it's 2 years running. They do a survey where they get pool pros to answer questions. The State of the Industry survey is something they fund themselves. It's not inexpensive to fund something like this, by the way. They spend a lot of resources for that. They have a pool deck, pool group also that they're starting to form where it's like a forum and you can ask questions and get things answered. And it's open to not only people that use the Skimmer app, but people that don't use the Skimmer app. The state of the industry goes out to everyone, and you don't have to be a Skimmer user to get it. They have webinars all the time that go out to everyone who's on their mailing list, newsletter list, and it's something that they're also doing in the industry. So I don't know if you're getting a little bit of a trend here, but HASA and Skimmer are education focused first, and their industry focused first, and product focused second. And I think that's an important aspect of these companies, and I think it's something to consider when you're supporting a company. Where do they stand as far as the industry? Are they supporting the industry, or are they just trying to make money off the industry? And you can see that with Skimmer, with all the things they're doing outside of the app is great. If you're looking for routing software, you can try it for 30 days if you listen to the intro ad, 30 days for free, going to that site that I mentioned at the beginning. And I think you're going to love the routing aspect of it. The management of your route is something that every pool company needs to have, a routing software of some type. Skimmer is the best platform. There's many different platforms out there now, but Skimmer has the most Apple-like look and feel to it. If you're an Apple user, you're going to see that Skimmer looks just like something that Apple would put out, one of their apps, one of their programs. It has that great feel. It's easy to use, it's smooth as silk to use their app, and it's something that you would want to try out. You can try it for free for 30 days, and it's something that I recommend you trying. So just go to getskimmer.com/poolguy, getskimmer.com/poolguy, and you can get that special deal and try it out. And I highly recommend the app. But again, I'm going to say that they are education focused and they're industry support focused. Their webinars are great. They cover all kinds of topics that you're going to find helpful. And it's not topics that are making you buy their app or use their app. It's topics that are going to help the industry overall. So that's a brief look at the sponsors. And I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to have a lot more podcasts with Terry Arco, with the folks over at Arenda. And you're going to see Skimmer, of course, do some more podcasts. We're going to probably have them on for the state of the industry to kind of unpack all the things that they discovered for this year coming up in 2025. And Glenn's going to come on with the bottom feeder. He'll share insights as a pool pro, and he'll share insights about his product. And you're going to get a lot more education, a lot more content from the sponsors than ever before. So I'm excited to start this new year with HASA, the bottom feeder, and with Skimmer. And I think it's going to benefit everyone in the industry, the new partnership and the sponsorship opportunity that I have. And it's going to be something that you're going to really enjoy going forward with the Pool Guy Podcast Show, with my YouTube content, and with the blog articles that I put out, and my website, of course. If you're looking for more podcasts, you go to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, click on the podcast icon. There'll be a drop-down menu of close to 1,600 podcasts now. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week. God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.